You're tuned in to the Development Tank Podcast with Peter Kelly.
Welcome to the first ever Development Tank. Super excited, guys. This is where you'll get your real insights in real time. It's your weekly property and development snapshot. So we'll be here every week. You can definitely count on that. I think it's important that I dial it back. A few of you guys might have seen our educational stuff on YouTube, the Little Fish podcast. You know, we've done a couple of things to date, but this is probably the one that we've been looking forward to the most. And this is probably the most important for us to give as much value as we can to our community. So as far as where it all began, you know, it started with one development site, probably about 8-9 years ago. From then, we've built a business, we've done more and more development sites, been involved in well over 100 development sites. And in that time, we've built an amazing team. Now, when we started doing some YouTube content, it was just Ben and I. So it was early, and we just had a crack. And, you know, as you guys, you know, the OGs out there, you probably realize the quality has evolved over that time. And it brings us to today. So we've done lots of different bits and pieces to get here. And now we're starting and we're not stopping. We've been able to build an amazing community. You know, you're out there. You know who you are. We've got great following on YouTube and other platforms. So now we're here to give you guys essentially what you want. Give you guys as much value as possible. You guys have been following us up. You know, when are we going to get the fly on the wall stuff? When are we going to get, you know, the real value, the value that happens inside this building every day? You know, it's often we sit down there in the boardroom and talk about sites and, you know, make property development decisions. And we go, wow, you know, that's amazing content. You know, our community would love to hear that. So that's more what this podcast is about. It's fly on the wall, it's value, it's real, and it's in real time. We're week in, week out. If things are happening out there in the property and development landscape, you know, there's a good chance we're going to be across it and we're going to be bringing it to you guys. So this is the opportunity for you guys when you're driving home from work, you know, turn it on, be 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and you'll get your snapshot. You'll get your bite-sized snapshot. You know, we'll dumb it down. You know, we're not Harvard scholars in here. You know, we'll say the stuff straight. What's happening with the RBA, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening with sentiment. I think the real thing is we speak to people, and I speak to people personally and our team all day, every day. So whether our heads are right in the projects or we're speaking to people like yourselves, wondering what they can do, you know, with their wealth or how do they get in property development, all day, every day we're speaking to all you guys. So our data and our information's tied. It's there. You know, the sentiment that we have in this building is the sentiment. So yeah, super exciting to be able to bring that to you guys, however you consume us. And it's just going to make you guys better. It's, you know, going to keep you guys on the pace, whether that's building prices, whether that's planning restrictions and changes and overlays, and, you know, what the government's doing to improve the stock levels of new homes. All these sorts of topics, we're going to bring them to you in this podcast and on this channel. So if you really value this stuff, if you love property and love development and like being on the pace, that subscribe button. We'll be dropping Tuesdays in the afternoon. So set your alarms, Tuesday afternoon, get your fix. Like I said, we're talking all the sentiment, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're expecting. You know, which will mean you guys are super current. You know, if build prices are looking like going up, going down, you know, the fact that you guys are getting the data from inside this building means that you guys are going to be the most current out there. So make sure you tune in at that time. Super excited. What you can expect from this podcast on a weekly basis. We'll get you guys up to speed. We've got our segment with Gav, Site Insiders. So we'll be looking at genuine live development sites, why you should buy them, why you shouldn't buy them, you know, the things that we look at. So ultimately, my goal is to make you guys much better at doing property development, essentially. It's super important. It's a super exciting industry, and it's not just about getting any old site and developing it and thinking that it will be a success. It's super important that you guys out there are learning as much as you can from industry leaders like ourselves to make sure that you're making the right decisions, buying profitable development sites, buying sites that can be developed. Just because it can be developed doesn't mean it should be developed. All these sorts of things, it's super important that we impart that knowledge onto you guys. So that is super exciting. So guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the value. So what I want to do is, because this is the first episode, 2024, we're February, I'd love to just sort of rewind it back a little bit into the back half of 2023 there, just so we can sort of get everyone up to speed on what we have seen out there, and then that'll give 2024 more context. So for us in here at Little Fish, 2023 was a year where we had aggressive interest rate rises, the RBA trying to get inflation in check. We had people getting squeezed everywhere. Mortgage rates were going up. Going to the supermarket was expensive. Building costs have gone up dramatically. There's lots of things going up. Petrol, insurance, whatever it is, everyone's getting pinched, from every angle. So 2023 is what we saw, from that respect. As far as in the development space, we saw building prices, they kept increasing. They definitely slowed, but we definitely felt like there was sort of, I guess, a lag of inflation in the building sector. They kept going up slowly. We saw real estate stay pretty resilient. We thought in here, probably right up until that last interest rate rise, which was on Cup Day, which obviously a lot of commentators now are saying was a mistake, but that sort of really slowed down the property market here in Melbourne. So during the year, we saw property market stayed strong, and often what we see is that stock levels really, really come down when the market's in question, and that usually keeps property prices strong. And from our point of view, what we see in this building, that's what we saw, which is good if you're holding property. And then we got to the end of the year and things definitely slowed down a bit. Feel like people had a big year. It was a long year, and with that last interest rate rise, I think potentially people thought we're at the top. They thought that there weren't going to be any more, and bang, there it was. So for me, the people we talked to, we felt like maybe there was a little bit of trust lost there. So people just put the queue in the rack, they slowed down. Now, into 2024, what we're seeing, what we're reading is inflation is in check. Inflation is going to get back to that target range that the RBA is trying to achieve. So a lot of things are heading in the right direction. You'll notice you go to your Bowsers, the fuel's coming down. They're saying that supermarket and food costs and all those sort of necessities are coming down. I haven't seen it yet though, but our grocery bills are pretty high in the Kelly house, so haven't seen that totally yet. But what we are seeing is, and today, as day of filming, is the first meeting for the RBA. So at time of this release, we don't have the decision. Everyone's talking that it will be an on-hold message, and they are saying that an on-hold message, but working towards our first decrease. So obviously they're looking at all things like unemployment, inflation, the money markets, all these sort of things, our economy. So it'd be super interesting to see what they do there. But from a macro perspective, what's happening inside this building, we're definitely bullish on the year ahead. For ourselves as property developers, we think putting things in a mixing pot such as immigration, new housing stock, it's well reported that they're going to struggle to meet the new housing requirements across Australia. So, ourselves in here and you guys at home can definitely play a role in that. And then if, interest rates are on the way down, which all the smarties out there definitely seem very confident that that's the case, we feel like it can be a really good formula for property developers to succeed even more than usual. So very excited to be bringing you guys weekly insights into what's happening. Something that we've appreciated over the years, and our superstar team, which I will slowly but surely integrate them into the podcast when it's worthy. Because when I say I'm at the cold face, I am, but these guys are properly at the coalface, especially in the projects team. So keen to bring those guys through, keen to tell you guys what we're seeing with all those little sort of micro factors that are happening on a day-to-day basis in this building. So that's going to be something that you need to hang around for. So we'll be building those characters out and creating that real fly on the wall experience. So like I said, 2024, super excited with what it will bring. We feel like 2023 will be the down year for property development, and looking forward to it being onwards and upwards from this point. Now let's get into it. I want to introduce Gav. He's our site insiders man. He looks at sites all day, every day. So we're in that boardroom every day, every second day, just saying no to sites. Why no? Pros, cons, all that sort of stuff. So that's something we want to bring you guys in on, which is going to make you guys even better at looking at sites and dismissing sites and identifying reasonable sites and sites that should be discussed and sort of delved into further. So that's super exciting. This is a segment that's going to stay. There's going to be more segments that drop on this podcast that we're working towards. We're definitely looking forward to bringing you guys into the podcast by suggesting what you want to hear about next. You know, if new laws and regulations come in, you know, we're going to be talking about them. So rest assured that if it's getting spoken about in this building, it's going to be spoken about on this podcast. So it's a no-brainer, guys. All right, cool. First segment, Site Insiders. If you know, you know. Gav, what do we got today, mate?
Today we've got a couple of sites we're looking at. One in particular we purchased in September last year. It's in Hampton, 75 Service Street. We bought it for an investment fund.
That's high end of town, Gav.
It's a great location. We've had our eye on Hampton and areas such as that for a while, but investors coming into the market that are looking for these projects, and we're excited to do them because we can spend a bit more money on the build. And
they're a bit more exciting. Do you think these better areas, the sites stack up a bit easier?
I think they do, particularly when we're talking about the increases we've seen in the cost of construction. You're selling properties for $3 million. So yes, we definitely invest more in the build, but you get a better return, I think, on the investment. The
margin's a bit more obvious.
Yeah.
Bit easier to achieve. Yeah, love it, mate. So talk to me, mate. Where are we?
Okay, so looking here on our app, Land Checker, which I use all day, every day, you can see that it's a north-facing backyard. It's 683 square metres. Great location. So we're on the west side of Sargood Street there. So that's a great boundary to be within.
Maybe just sneak out, Gab, so us Melbournians can get our bearings.
So here's your bearings. So that's the main drag there. We'll just quickly grab a measure here. So I can tell you from the train station, this is Hampton Activity Zone. So your train station, all your major retailers are there. That's only 800 metres. And you're also, a kilometre from the beach. And keep in mind, if we go out a little bit more, you've got Sandringham Yacht Club there, which is nice for a shandy on a Sunday.
And how far would we be into the Melbourne CBD, Gav? And I think just a point, when I was back in real estate, when buyers advocates used to come and sort of inspect the property.
There you go. It's about 13 kilometres.
Yeah, nice. And inspect the property that you're at. They were always looking for under a kilometre was their threshold. So if you're under a kilometre from train, from activity zones, villages, schools, whatever it was, that was sort of their threshold of, hey, this is definitely a box ticked.
Well, not only that, this particular site's walking distance to the local Sandringham Primary School, secondary school, but it's also very close to Haileybury and St Leonard's colleges as well, which are a draw card for people who live down in those areas.
Yeah, nice. Do you want to, if you go back to Land Checker, take off your easements and all that sort of stuff and maybe go to the high res, if we can zoom in and have a look at the site.
See what we're dealing with. So even before you get to there, it's a great street.
Yep.
It's straight down to the beach. It's straight down to the activity zone. It's nice and wide. There's heaps of mature trees on the sides of the street, heaps of easy parking.
Yep.
It's not overcrowded. So that's a great bonus. The setbacks are terrific as well. In this instance here, there's a few trees on the site, but we've had them checked by our arborist.
Yep.
He's happy for them to go. Nice wide frontage, 24.
Yeah,
24
talk to me
metre
about
frontage.
that. How often do we find a site 24 metre frontage and the full north face?
Very rare, very rare. So typically your average width of a block is about 15 to 16 metres.
Yeah. Spot on.
Ideally, you can look for 16 to 18. You get 20, you're doing great. We've got 24 to work with. So what that does is, yes, the block is a bit shorter. It's not quite as deep, but it gives us a bit more freedom with the design. The design itself for the side-by-side townhouses don't have to be as long and narrow. Yep. So we've got a bit more width to work with.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love the frontage. And yeah, you can really achieve sort of your houses, whether it's double garages, less long hallways, like you said, real sort of houses. And yeah, that north facing is amazing. The 680 square metres. Would we be a 50% site coverage?
Yes,
I think
down
from
there.
memory?
And you're bound by the side setback rules for Bayside Council as well.
Council, which when with the 24 metres, we're pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm looking there, Gav. What about that big tree there? That looks in the front yard.
So this tree here, we've because the footprint of the existing dwelling is where it is, which is pretty much the setback, and it's a great front setback. Shouldn't be forgotten.
Yep.
We can build up to that same sort of position.
Yep.
We've gone out of the way to keep that tree, and not only that, with the design, we're planning on putting on 229 square townhouses.
Yeah, nice.
So 4 bed,
Good sizes.
good master downstairs, good master upstairs. So proper ensuite walk-in robes. So for downsizers or maybe for multi-generational families.
Yep.
But what we've done in that design process is we've actually focused on that tree and just tried to make sure that the living areas, both downstairs and also the bedrooms upstairs, or if it's a second living upstairs, you're getting that great out view or outlook onto that tree.
Yeah, nice. Great point. And that's the thing with that tree right on the boundary there. If we had to have it removed, you might have a question mark on it.
Yeah,
But if you're going to
definitely.
retain it, then you push on and, obviously you're not really going to have any issues. But, we would have had the arborist go down, look at that and make sure it was of good health and that sort of stuff before you buy it.
And Bayside City Council, they love their trees. They'll protect them whenever they can.
Yep.
And look, even from a developer perspective, I like trees too.
Yeah.
The more trees on the site, particularly in this instance, the more value, I think. You've got mature trees on your site. It's
100%. Like instead of being this brand new aspect, it's like, hey, there's something that's been here for decades and decades to try and blend your new townhouses into the landscape. Do you want to go to the elevation, the street view, just so we can show people? Obviously, this is being a side by side. We need to make sure we get our crossovers in.
Yep.
And front access to each townhouse. There's that beautiful tree.
Yeah, so great outlook.
Great outlook. You've got your existing crossover there, and you really haven't got anything to be worried about on the frontage there. And with a 24 metre frontage, you have got a bit of room to, if you do have a power pit or you have this or you have that, there's every chance you'll be able to get your crossovers in.
It's incredible how many good sites that we have to pass on due to nature strip trees, utilities, power poles that are in the front yard that are just in the wrong spot.
Yep.
So in this instance, it's great.
Yeah, 100%. Give us a little look-see down the street, Gav. Just as far as you mentioned, it was a nice street. You got some nice Californian bungalows in the street.
Yep.
Tree line, but yeah, just
Really
that
nice and
width.
wide.
That width is really nice. So Gav, just some context for everyone playing along at home. We bought this site off market, so it come to us from an agent that we knew.
Yep.
And we purchased it pretty swiftly. We put together a development group and a group of investors, and we purchased it once we'd done the due diligence. There's your purchase price, stamp duty. So it was a 2,440 purchase, so 2,440,000. Gavin's got a feasibility open here. So you got your stamps, got your planning costs, project management fee, 8% of the build. You got build costs there, 30 grand a square, which is great. Contingency. We've got a pool going in one, Gav. I like that.
Yeah, we allowed a small amount for a pool, and now that we've sort of through the design phase, we've we're going to put 2 pools in, and we've also
Two
then
pools.
expecting to spend a little bit more money on the landscaping around that, the decking, just to really complete the entertainment area. But
Yep.
north backyards, 2 sort of medium-sized, probably plungy pools in there.
Yeah.
Great for summer, great for
Yeah.
kids, and,
Well, I
and
think
for entertaining.
there was a stat on Domain, end of year stat, end of 2023 stat. Pools were one of the most aggressively searched search criteria when people are looking for houses. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, there you go. The proof is there. You've got holding costs in there. Now, talk to us about the very important resales. You know, what we find is the resales either can make or break these FISOs.
Absolutely.
And talk to us about the resales and how did you get to them?
Yeah, basically I just research all of the recent sales in the area, similar sort of land size, characteristics. I think about if this was going to be on the market tomorrow, what am I in competition with? If people have got $3 million to spend on a house and they want to live in the Hampton area, what else are they looking at?
Love it. Yep.
So I'll go out and I'll look around and see what else has been sold that might be a comparable.
Yep.
Like if someone wants a huge backyard, then they're probably looking for a single dwelling with a big backyard. But for someone who probably wants less maintenance or wants to have a master bedroom downstairs and a master bedroom upstairs, so I'm looking at townhouses or even newer homes that are on smaller lots of land of maybe
spot
only
on. That's what
400-500
a
square
project
meters.
like this allows, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
We can stack it up against some homes somewhat. And from memory, this one had a reasonable comparable just around the corner on Sargood Street.
There was, yeah, and I, like, even when we were looking at the site, I'll go down and I drive around all the streets and
Yeah.
I look at the houses and I
Yeah.
think about what's it like to live here. I'll get out of the car, I'll walk down the street, I'll walk down the other street,
Yeah.
and I do remember having a bit of a look around, and there's a couple of new homes that are standouts, and I remember driving past a townhouse and I thought, geez, that's really nice, that's hot, and sure enough, it was the comp.
It was the comp.
I didn't realise until I was actually there, and I looked at the address and thought, oh, yeah. Awesome. So, and literally around the corner.
Yeah,
walking
nice.
distance.
You've got, so people will get used to this, but internally here we do realistic, pessimistic, optimistic. This allows us the ability to, if the market increases or decreases during that development cycle, that people can get a bit of a gauge on, bit higher, bit lower. But they're sort of reasonable anticipated returns, Gav, I would have thought.
Absolutely. I've already been talking to agents, the agent that sold us this site as well, and sent out our design intent floor plans.
Yeah.
And feedback already is that we'll be pretty comfortable with 3 mil. So
Yeah, that's exciting.
hopefully it was September. I understand we're expecting an RFI back from the council anytime soon.
Yeah.
So hopefully breaking ground in maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting. I love it, Gav. That's a ripper site, and I think the lessons in that are that north-facing orientation, block size, frontage amazing,
frontage.
but then even just that proximity, to those villages, trying to stick under a kilometre, I think's
Absolutely, yeah. Look, kids, teenage kids can walk to the station. If you want to go to the footy, you can walk down to the station, catch a train in. It's quick access to the schools, quick access to Coles.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're after, it's your lifestyle. It's once you get over the honeymoon period of moving into the house, and life goes on. What does that look like?
Yeah, the practicalities of everyday life aren't going to leave you.
Yeah.
Love it. And even you touched on there where the project's up to now in a coming up episode. It might be next week, might be the week after, but I do want to bring one of the projects team up here, get them to tell us exactly where they are in the process, and I guess from a sites and acquisition perspective, now take the community over to where we are currently and what is getting achieved or what is likely to be achieved. Because I guess a day in the life of a guy finding sites, Gav, you're living in la land and speculation, and I'd love to do this and we think we can do that, and our research suggests we can do that. But once it goes to the projects team, they're in the real world, I suppose, and looking to achieve what you've set out to to do. And I know from experience that it's never, with the amount of research and due diligence we do, it's never that far away from what you suspected anyway.
Well, that's one of the good things we do here at Little Fish is that we get the initial design intent, and then we all sit in a room and we talk through it. you know, and that's my opportunity to learn from the projects team, but it's also my opportunity to ensure that we stick to our budget, you know, what we're aiming at. And like in this case here, we end up going for an extra pool, and it's okay because when talking to agents and people out in the field, it's definitely a strong point. We already had some money there for one, but if we go for two, yes, the cost of the project will go up, but we'll definitely get a return on that investment.
Yeah, cool. No, I definitely think it's important that whoever's running the job and finding the jobs, that those departments and relationships are really close, because it needs to be a fluid conversation between the two, because both rely on each other to make the right calls, you know.
Well, we're working to a budget.
Yeah. 100%. No, love it, Gav. That's a ripper site. I'm super excited about that one. Remember, guys, tune in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so when the project reflection comes back and we can talk about Service Street, that you guys don't miss it. Thanks, Gav. Ripper site. Awesome, mate.
My pleasure. Well, I'll be back next week with some more hot sites.
Won't you? Awesome, guys. If you're loving that value and loving that information and data that was just shared, please hit the subscribe button. That's it for episode 1 of the Development Tank. There'll be heaps more value, a couple more segments coming your way. Hit the subscribe button. Happy developing.